so strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Mattrix, and Whisperer.
Yes, we are back, and how good is it to hear Alex Twal score his first try? You're going to hear that at the start of every episode that we do all season. You are welcome, and welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. It's episode 3 of the preseason. We've already tackled 14 previews. We're back to do another 4 on the SC Brain. As always, Mattrix and the Whisperer are with me. Boys, Josh, how good is it to hear Alex Twal, first of all?
How long have you been in the studio mixing that one up? That was off-putting, but it's a nice surprise.
Yeah, didn't tell any of the boys that I was doing that. But, yeah, you're going to see it all season. Matty, how you going, mate?
Oh, I'm just in my element, really. Just excited to be here. Just keen to talk about... we're not talking about the Broncos today, so, yeah, look, I'm going to get excited about some other guys.
You might have to. No Broncos today. We'll talk about them hopefully in a few more weeks. So at least we don't have to put up with too much Broncos chat. But, of course, guys, the show is brought to you by The Standard Squeeze, Ryan from Astute Newstead, and Bonus Bank. Remember to like, hit subscribe, and obviously if you're listening to us on audio, please hit follow and leave us a review if you want, if you like us. If you don't like us, don't leave us a review. We'd appreciate that. On today's show, guys, it's time to preview the next 4 teams on the schedule. We've got the Raiders, the Titans, the Storm, and the Sharks. So there are some pretty important players, or very popular players, I should say, that are coming up in this one, Josh. Quick little summary. Let's maybe off cuff. Your favourite player is being talked about today.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a couple of cult heroes, one from my end and obviously one from your boys' end. So although there's no teams that we support or teams that we really care about, there are definitely some players that we're going to get in and around. And then maybe a bit of man love happening from all 3 of us regarding a couple of players in this episode.
Yeah, speaking of man love, for anybody who followed us last year would have remembered very famously when Mattrix, for probably the only time I think it was last season, belted out a chord or 2 from memory.
Yeah. I've been called, I've got the voice of this generation. I've heard. But yeah, no, belted out some Forever Young. Love it.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about him again today. Who knows? And there'll be a few followers that are also scarred by that because they followed us on that journey and it was not a fun one. Let's talk about the Raiders, the Milk. Shout out to Brent, big Milk follower. And guys, we'll jump straight into the buys and then we'll talk about the ins and outs. Hey, buys round 10, 14, and 19. So they've got 1 major buy there, but 2 they're missing, which is positive, I guess, if you're looking at any of these guys. But that middle of the season's a bit clogged up, Josh.
Yeah, it's pretty condensed. Obviously, it looks like off face value. It looks like you're getting decent value to start with a few of these guys, and we do know that there are a few guys at value and cheapies that we're going to start with, but it's either a case of like having good squad depth and moving them or moving them on because 10, 14, 19, and then you've got obviously 13, 16. So if you have a guy like Corey Horsburgh, if he continues his form and makes the Queensland side, then he's going to be missing at least 5 games out of 9. So. Definitely to consideration there with some Origin guys, but the way that I've previewed the Raiders this year, I don't think many of them will be making Origin footy.
Our teams, yeah, or our teams maybe. There's a few good cheapie options and some value, but there's definitely when we're scraping through looking for major improvements within this squad, it's really hard to find. Matty, who's in and out, mate? I'll leave this one with you.
We've got Simi Sasaga going to the Knights. We've got has come in from the Knights. We've got KO Weeks in from the Sea Eagles. We've got Morgan Smithies in from Wigan. And of course, the big out is Jack Whiten going to the Rabbitohs. You've got Matt Frawley heading overseas to Leeds. We've got Croker retiring. Clay Webb does not have a contract. And popular cheapie last year, Harley Smith-Shields, to the Titans.
Yeah, maybe he gets a mention a little bit later. I think I saw him in one of your teams, maybe. Was it you, Josh? You had him in centre wing to start?
Maybe many moons ago, many iterations of this team ago. But he definitely found his way there and might find his way back if some cards fall their way. But we are going to talk about the Titans this episode, so we'll discuss his viability. On the injury front, Braino, unfortunately, Corey Hadawira-Naera obviously had that pretty graphic seizure last year. There's been reports of an early retirement. He's come out and said no, but there's no clear timeline of when he's going to be coming back. So I think we can just put the red line through Corey Hadawira-Naera. Even if he does come back this year, it's just not someone I'm going to be looking at. But, touch wood that he does come back and play footy because he is still quite young. And, hopefully that retirement isn't on the cards. But if that's, the way that his health and his professionals are advising him, then obviously we'd prefer him to be healthy rather than playing a meaningless game of footy.
100%. Yeah, it was definitely not something I'd love to see again. That's for sure. It was, pretty graphic, as you mentioned. So hopefully, fingers crossed for him, he's healthy and on the mend. Suspension-wise, there's a couple of guys that are very relevant here, and you mentioned Corey Horsburgh at the start of the show. He's copped a 4-match suspension from round 26. So obviously, he missed round 27. He also missed the first round of finals, and then the Raiders got knocked out. So he's got 2 more left to serve at the start of the season. Now, from what I've seen, I'm a little bit confused around whether they're counting these suspension games as preseason challenge games as well, or included in that. Does anybody, Josh, you're nodding your head, is that included?
No, it's who knows. Like, I think a blanket rule should just be, if it's an NRL game and you're playing for your club, that's it, and they're only for competition points. So preseason trials, international games, it's just too much of a grey area. But he may have been in contention for New Zealand, so the Raiders may argue that will cover it. But I mean, there is some chat around Seb Chris in the NRL fantasy world, which I've been following. I'm not too sure on the Supercoach side of things, but there's been some mixed reports about where he'll line up. I know Xavier Savage was lining up in the number 1 in some media day photos, but there's been some reports that Ricky is favouring Chris. So it's I mean, we'll obviously have more information when the season does get closer. But at the moment, that we know he's on a 5-match suspension.
Yeah, so it's a bit muddied, isn't it, Matty? Like, you got Seb Chris and Corey Horsburgh who are in their best 17, we would naturally assume, which means that it might open the door for a couple of these guys to start that might be decent cheapie options.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, with there only being a couple... Oh, I suppose Seb Chris, if Savage is there for 5 games at fullback, maybe that allows a pathway. But Corey Horsburgh with just the 2 games, it more just makes me look at Corey Horsburgh maybe later on in the season. And if it looks like he's going to get some price rises, which I'm not sure there's that much growth at $650K. It allows me to get him a little bit later on and really just turn away from some of these Canberra players because they're 2 big names in the suspension list.
They are. We were talking, Josh, a little bit earlier and got maybe a tiny bit excited about maybe Corey Horsburgh being suspended, opening up a position at lock for our boy Joey Tarpany to potentially start in the 13 jersey to start the year. That could be a bit of a smoky left field pick. And I know in your 55th draft of your team, you had Joey Tarpany in front row.
I did. I definitely experimented with that. I think a lot of people are expecting Tarps to stay in the front row and Morgan Smitty's to line up at 13. And from all reports, he just looks like another Victor Radley, who is probably going to be spending some more time in the judiciary than what he would on the field. I know he's a good price, but, Horsburgh walks back into the side the minute he comes back. So you get 1 price rise out of Smithy in the perfect world. But in saying that, you've got a guy like Emre Gula, who is a very, very good quality front row forward that can definitely do a job for a couple of weeks. So I still think Tarpany will shoulder a lot of the load. You got Josh Papali'i, who is, getting on in age, and then, no Horsburgh, so there's no real leader. Whitehead is no spring chicken either. So Tarpany, I think, is going to be a great 3-week play, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, as we mentioned, there's a lot of spots opened up, especially in the back line. We've got KO Weeks that's popped over from Manly. Now, he definitely got his shot last year, Turbo in and out of the side with injuries, and there was some mixing and matching in the back line, but he's moved over to the nation's capital. He's at 273, available at fullback and 5'8". I know he's quite popular. I think Tom Sangster and the Supercoach NRL official account put up the other day that he is the most owned player. Now, obviously, in early access, the regular public don't have access to that percentage ownership, but obviously on the back end, they can see that he is the most popular, but it looks like we're getting someone. It'll be him or Ethan Strange at 238K, available at 5'8" centre wing. Are you both, lining up with one of these boys regardless?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you go first, Matty. It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, if he's picked?
Yeah. I currently don't, but yeah, I suppose it depends position-wise, because I don't really like 5/8 and fullback to be massive cheapie spots. I've currently got Dillbags and Mam sitting there, and some elite guys like either Turbo Ponga and Pappenhausen. So I think I'll have to though, to fund some other moves, and yeah, it just depends if he's named. I think you're going to have one of these guys, and this is a club that I'm really looking at cheapies, with eyes wide open.
In a perfect world, there is a centre spot open up as well, and we know Ethan Strange is a big body, played a little bit of centre and rep footy as well. So if we do get blessed from the SC gods, in a perfect world, we get Weeks at 6 and Strange at 3 or 4, which is amazing. But then there's also some more positions that open up, boys. There's a fullback spot open, and then potentially a wing spot. Now, there is some talks that Xavier Savage and Seb Cruz are in a shootout for fullback. As I said, Xavier Savage was pictured in the fullback jersey at Media Day, which was about a month ago. But over the last couple of days, there's some rumblings that Ricky's favouring Chris. But in saying that, there is another wing spot as well. And then you've also got Chevy Stewart as well, who was playing fullback in New South Wales Cup last year. Now, Chevy Stewart is at basement price at 204. He's available at fullback centre wing. And Savage is also available at fullback centre wing, but he's a little bit more pricey at 350. And then you've also got Nick Kotrich as well, who obviously, yes, his better days are behind him, but still at 274K. We know what he can be 7-8 years ago. But there could be a world where people are lining up with 4 or 5 Raiders in their backline, which is not ideal, but it's definitely a possibility.
I think you're looking at one of Weeks and Strange potentially, and then you're looking at one of Stewart and Savage. And you've got Kotrick. I think I actually have him in my team as well at the moment. The price is just nice for what you kind of know you're going to get or what the upside would be with him. But tell us about Danny Levi, Josh. 238K. There's talks or rumours at the moment.
Have we ever been burnt by Raiders hookers before? I can't think of a time when we've ever bought into stocks of hookers. But no, you've also got Tom Starling, who I've always said if Tom Starling got 60 minutes, he'd average 60 points. But for whatever reason, Ricky just hates him. He was favouring Zach Wolford. Now, no disrespect to Zach Wolford, but not the most creative or exciting 9. But maybe Ricky doesn't want that. But they did bring in Danny Levi, who was playing a little bit of footy last year. But yeah, there's some whispers getting around on some socials. Nothing concrete, but Danny Levi is favoured to be the 9. Now, look, it's not great, but if people are paying $350 for Jaden Brayley to play 50 minutes, I'd rather just pay $240 for Danny Levi to play 45-50 minutes. We're not going to start these guys, but you might have to call upon Danny Levi in round 4 when I think Harry Grant has the bye. But look, you're comparing mediocrity to mediocrity. If you're picking up Jaden Brayley with no guarantee of 80 minutes, you can just save yourself $100K and pick up Danny Levi. I don't know, Hooker's just wasted. For full transparency,
awful.
We're currently working through our sort of draft rankings, our top, X amount of players for each position. And I did the hooker ones last night, Braino. I sent it over to you. And after about number 5, it's just you're shooting fish in a barrel.
I think I saw something from the Weekly Rubdown boys who do a great job with draft stuff. And they were saying everybody else, not named Harry Grant, just wait right to the end of the draft. And I think that's pretty spot on with the value of hooker at the moment, even with Classic, if you take that approach. You can have Harry Grant and a plotter. Harry Grant and someone on the bench with a little bit of upside that could make 150, 200K at best. Matty, any love there for Levi or any of the hookers from Canberra on the football field?
Yeah, I'm just going to see how the chatter comes out and see what happens as it gets a little bit closer. But yeah, you're right. There's going to be a cheap hooker option. And, you know what, Whisperer might be talking me around from Brayley through to Danny Levi, or at least some cheap hooker option. Everyone's burnt by Sonny Luke last year.
I was going to say we'll get to the Eels as well, but you've also got Brendan Hands and Joey Lussick as well. So it's not like it's Levi, Brayley or nothing. There will be some mediocrity ones, but it's a case of cover for Grant in round 4 or whenever the buy is. I'll have to confirm, but cover for him and then just set and forget, basically. Hopefully someone becomes available. Hopefully Reid Marnie decides to pull his finger out and not miss 17 tackles a game, basically.
Never again. Let's go into the big fallers. There's only really one guy. When I was looking at this squad, it's kind of like everybody is lining up as expected in the front row. So you your big men in this lineup essentially is exactly the same as what we saw last year. So I don't necessarily see anybody regressing massively, nor do I see anybody improving massively across the Raiders. We just know what's going to happen. And also, you've got Ricky Roulette, who's Ricky Roulette is a real thing. It's burnt us on many an occasion when we've bought into someone from the Raiders and then they find themselves on the bench next week. So Jordan Rapana, don't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He's 557K. I think he's priced at a 54 or 55 or something like that. Father Time's got to kick in at some point. We know he had that long stint at fullback for a large amount of the season last year through injury and different opportunities. But, I just don't see him being able to produce the same kind of workload that he did on the scores that he's priced at on the wing this year. And also, if he's on the left wing, he'll be outside whichever young 5'8" gets picked as well, which is maybe a little bit of a disadvantage. Maybe that young 5'8" uses a certain second rower short a little bit more than going out the back to their wingers. We might talk about this a little bit later.
This needs to stop.
Mate, it's going to come up every single episode now.
Yeah.
But Jordan Rapana, bit of a no-brainer, 5-point regression, I think, predicted for him just based on the fact that he's going to get a little bit, maybe more injury-riddled as the seasons go on. Any comments, or we can move on?
Yeah.
The only other one that I'd sort of look at is like Timoko. Like, I don't see, like, he was actually great last year and good in a draft. I had him in a draft, and like he was nearly like off the waivers early on in the season, but I can't see him replicating that again this year. That was 57, and he went on some really good streaks last year. I just can't see him replicating that with the players that they've lost this year.
My fondest memory of Timoko was I think he was like the most purchased player 1 week in Classic, and then proceeded to do nothing for about 8 weeks after that. So he went on, like Mattrix said, he went on this mad run and then just did nothing after he was purchased. So yeah, I mean, I think as you said, Braino, the Raiders are just like, they're just mid, which is fine. And like, we know what like the players are. Like, no one's going to fall off a cliff. No one's going to, improve massively. It's just like, cool. I mean, there is some guys here that I don't agree with, that are getting some love from 2 people on this podcast that they've suggested that he is a value buy. I want to put a stop to this agenda right now because it's funny. I remember last year, this is before I knew both of you boys, there was just some random Twitter accounts that are sprouting Hudson Young as a buy nonsense. And I'm like, who the hell are these nobodies shouting this absolute garbage? He ended up doing nothing, so I feel vindicated. But it's funny how the world works, because that's my first interaction with you boys. It's just having some Hudson Young agenda. And he is priced at 580K, which is an average of 57. Look, I'm ruling him out, but I do want to hear the thought process. Is it just down to the fact that, there's not going to be much happening on the left-hand side of the field, so the ball has to go somewhere?
Let me defend myself on this one a little bit. Now, the only reason, and I'm fucking reaching massively on Hudson Young, by the way. Like, I was looking through this list and I'm going, who can I even put as a best value pick in this team? I mean, KO Weeks at his price is probably the best value if he gets a start. I mean, if Ethan Strange lines up in the centres or maybe even gets that 5'8" role to start, he's definitely the one. But between the really cheap value options and your set and forget kind of primo forwards in Tarpany, Papali'i, Horsburgh, there's nothing in between. There's no real value there. You either pay up for premium or you just take dirt cheap in the Raiders. Matty, would you agree?
Yeah, and I'd like to return serve on Josh here. It wasn't an agenda, it was propaganda. And a lot of the Hudson Young love come from the fact that he was a guy that averaged 70, and then he sort of went to was it late 400s, early 500s, and he still exceeded what he should have, or still exceeded, that price. And I think Canberra is going to be a team of runs. And if we start seeing some connection there, like Hudson Young got selected for Origin, like, admittedly, I don't really think that it was the best decision. I was there watching him play, and all he looked like he was trying to fight everyone the whole time, which doesn't equate to Supercoach points, folks. But look, yeah, I just think if he comes down into the low 500s again, he's somebody that could go for a run, and then suddenly he's 650, and you sell out. He's somebody that I'm going to watch all year.
Go on, Josh.
Oh, I can appreciate the man love. It's just I think with 2RF this year, it's just too good to pass up some of these 400k guys. We do have a question from the Discord. Make sure you do join the Insight Fantasy Sport Discord. The link will be in the bio. Great community. You're covering a multitude of sports. NRL Supercoach, NRL Fantasy this year. We're going to do a little bit, boys. We're going to get some guys in there that know what they're talking about. We've got Scoop, who is one of the flagships around there. BBL, which is flying. The consensus team is doing better than any team that I could ever construct. The NBL team is wonderful. We have second place last week in points on this podcast very much. There's some sports betting. There's some really good sports bettors in there as well. There is some AFL chat. AFL's ramping up as well. So the Insight Fantasy Sport Discord is amazing. And we have a question from friend of the show, Brent. Boys, he wants to know thoughts on Big Red. And who do we think wins the fullback and 5/8 spot?
You go. You can go, Matty. You go first.
Yeah, I brushed this question for starters when I saw it on the Discord because I was in the middle of work and I read it and I thought he was joking, saying, "Does Big Red get the fullback or the 5/8 spot?" So, so sorry. Sorry for not answering live, Brent, when you sent the message through.
I mean, realistically, is he any worse than Rapinoe at fullback?
Yeah, probably.
Just chuck
not.
Rapinoe at lock. You could do worse.
I'll tell you what, he's a real meter eater. Look, I think Big Red. I think we will own him at one stage this year, but I think that he's one of those blokes that I wanted to own because I thought that he wouldn't play Origin. Like, maybe somebody that I would hold through the bye period or somebody like that. I wonder if I won't be touching him this year for that exact reason, because I didn't expect him to play Origin. But yeah, look, I probably won't be touching Big Red unless he goes on a bit of a run. So,
and also he's lost his front row forward duel to start the season as well, which is much less appealing for me. 633k priced at a 62. So do we see him, and the question needs to become, do we see him averaging 70 points across a season? For me, probably not. Thoughts, Josh?
It's funny. Last year was his worst PPM ever. But that obviously coincided with a massive rise in minutes a game. He's gone from 51, 34, 43 minutes all the way up to 62. So he had a massive jump in minutes. Obviously, had played amazing footy as well. Let's not get that out of the way. But I think this just goes back to the same point that I'll make about Hudson Young. There's so many better options at
100%.
at 2RF. Also, I don't know what his fitness is like, but he's not going to play footy for 3 weeks, so it will take a little bit to get acclimatized. He will only have probably one competitive game of footy, which is the second week of the trial. I doubt he plays week 1, unless Ricky knows he's not going to be playing much footy, so he wants to get some sort of reps in a little bit. But he will miss the first 3 weeks. He's priced at a massive outlier season, which I don't think he's going to drop. I think he'll probably average 60, but what value is there? And the only point that I was going to make Braino was he lost his front row forward duel, which was so handy to have. Last year we had, I know, me personally speaking from experience, I had JDB, Tohu Harris, and Max King, and Corey Horsburgh, and all those guys were dual, and you can just flip them around, especially during the buys. But this year he's lost that, and there's also probably guys that are 200k less that will average the same.
Yeah, pretty well said. We can probably, hopefully that answers the Big Red question. Who do we think wins fullback and 5/8 spot? We kind of touched on the fullback position. All we can go off essentially is Xavier Savage wearing the 1 at the media day. But then you've said that potentially Seb Chris has it, but he's suspended to start the season. So
yeah,
I think Savages.
I think if this murky 5-game ban is somehow like overruled, then I think Chris lines up in the 1. And then it's going to be really difficult if it doesn't get overturned, because then if Savage does line up in the 1, are we going to get suckered in? Does he move to a wing? Does Chevy Stewart play? As we said, he was the fullback in New South Wales Cup last year, which kept Savage out of that 1 spot. But, Mattrix, do you have any thoughts on the fullback jersey? I know it's, a massively hot topic in the NRL community. Everyone's dying to know.
I think we're going to get sucked into owning Savage, and then Seb Chris is going to roll through, and we will all have Savage sitting there in our centre wing. We will get one price rise. I'm going to enjoy that. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy that 23K.
Round 6 preview, we're sitting here going, shit, boys. Savage has been named at 5. What do we do?
14. He'll name him that. Guaranteed.
Classic.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
No, that's
or
typical.
it's 18, and like there's a lot of doubt over like Chris's fitness or something like that. And we're just sitting there not knowing who's going to play.
Typical Supercoach fashion. We love it. That's why we play. Guys, before we move on to the Titans, we'll give a shout out to the Standard Squeeze. They're helping you drink responsibly and conveniently by measuring the perfect pour every single time. So you can go to the website, thestandardsqueeze.com, and use the code INSIGHT15. Get yourself 15% off everything in store, thanks to the Standard Squeeze for sponsoring the show. We can move on to the Gold Coast Titans. And Josh, you were the one that kind of kicked this one off. So, mate, I might leave this with you to get started.
Absolutely. Buys in round 17, and rounds 2, 13, and 17. So obviously early buy to contend with, which makes owning some premiums a little bit tough, and a couple of value guys we're looking at a little bit sticky as well. But if you pull up any draw feature and people that color grade their draws, we can see a whole lot of green for the Titans to start with. So it's a case of, do you forego the early buy and still get a lot of these Titans guys? But it does turn a little bit. We have a lot of easy draws to start with, and it sort of takes a nasty shift. You've got teams like the Warriors, Melbourne, Newcastle, Broncos as well. So it starts well. Don't go too heavy, or make some trades early on. But they do have some new arrivals. Keenan Palacia has arrived from the Broncos, which I think is a great signing from a footy standpoint. And the aforementioned Harley Smith-Shields has come over from the Raiders. The outs, Aaron Booth has retired. Unfortunately, I had massive hopes for Aaron Booth. I was very much on an Aaron Booth agenda. It might have been last year or the year before as a cheapie. Patrick Herbert has been released. Cruz Leeming, he had a 5-minute stint in the NRL. He's back over at Wigan. And Sam McIntyre over to the Cowboys. On the injury front, Aaron Clark, dual position hero of our hearts last year. I know he had a lot of preseason love as well. He looks like he's going to be out with a shoulder, but racing the clock for round 1. And as the Supercoach world was rocked with news pre-Christmas that David Fifita had suffered that pectoral injury and required immediate surgery. And he's going to be racing the clock for round 1 too. So a very, very disrupted preseason for Fifi. I'm sure we'll touch on him. And no guarantee that he plays round 1. I don't know about you boys. I probably don't think he plays round 1, considering the bye in round 2. And we might see Fifi line back up in round 3.
And I just personally really kind of worries me when a big forward that, makes a lot of tackles and obviously makes a lot of runs and is such a barnstorming runner like Fifita injures a pec. It's such an injury that is really relevant to nearly everything that he does on the footy field. So, also concerns there. Say again, sorry.
Also the fact that Des Hasley is his coach, which is, who knows 100%. What's going to happen. If he could average 110 or 38, I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, no, completely agree. What's your thoughts on Fifita, Matty? If he's lining up round 1 and he's fit and he's good to go, is he an option for you?
Not with the bye round 2. I think we're going to get a nice look. Even if he gets, as Josh said, even if he gets 110 in week 1, it's only 55 over 2 weeks for somebody that you've paid 7. I don't even know what's his price this year. Probably something ridiculous. But yeah, he was nearly... I nearly owned him all last year, and I would love to just go David Fifita, sit him there all year. I don't think I'd trade him out, but the Des Hasler effect, the
question mark around which side he plays as well is really relevant to talk about, I think.
Also worth noting as well,
I'm not high.
He will miss round 16 and round 17, 16 being Origin, 17 being the bye. I know it's a long-term planning thing, but there's 2 weeks gone straight away that he'll miss as well. So it's small things like that, but if you're paying $800K, you're sort of looking at these things being like, and yeah, as you said, Braino, both Fermor is back in action, and we know how poor, I think it's the right word to say, Fifita was on the right-hand side. We think back to 2022, and he was not good. Last year was a bounce-back year. He linked up with AKP on the left-hand side so well. But obviously Fermor played amazing on the left, so it's going to be a trials watch, definitely.
But what about the high school connection, Matty?
Oh, yeah.
Do we remember his one game at centre?
Yeah.
That was awful. That was the worst thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I did buy into the high school connection last year with Tanner Boyd and David Fifita. It was like the Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson thing. So
yeah. Yeah. So probably a fade. No suspensions here though. So we can probably move into the cheapies. Now, did any of us own Isaac Fa'asumaliawi last year?
No, I saw a lot of love for him. I didn't really understand it.
There was a lot.
A lot of love. It
He's
was
got a nice
one
name.
I can get behind. Oh yeah, great name. But yeah, no, I'm not keen on Isaac this year. Probably gets a bench spot, but I think there's better bench options. We've already spoken about. We spoke about Sam Hughes, who I'm keen on, and Xavier Wilson from the Broncos. If he gets minutes, Spencer Leniu, is what 50k more than what Fa'asuma Malawi is. As is Fletcher Baker as well. So there's guys that you just pay up for or just drop down cheaper. I'm not keen on Isaac Fa'asuma Malawi.
So how about the next one? Tom Weaver, 245k halfback. I mean, he's got to obviously get a role first, doesn't he? So does this come down to Tanner Boyd versus Weaver?
Oh, it's yeah, I think so, but there's huge raps on Weaver. A lot of Titans fans are wanting him to start. That may be over Foran. Foran's not someone that you can rely on for 24 games a year. But in saying that, Boyd does provide a lot of utility cover as well. So it's more down to a case of like when he gets a game. I think this reeks of like Sam Walker from like 3 years ago. We knew he wasn't going to start straight away, but when he did, there's huge raps on him. But a guy that to put in your black book or just keep a little eye on through Queensland Cup, and when the opportunity does present itself, then you can look at jumping on.
Don't hate it. Now, talk to me about Harley Smith-Shield. Matty, I might get your thoughts first before I throw to Josh. Do you see him lining up or making it into this team, or is it just too stacked out on the edges for him to get a spot?
Look, I think it is probably too stacked for starters. I probably see Sammy and AKP for starters. AKP, I know he did get dropped for, was it a couple games at one stage, but that was all defensively, I would presume. He was an absolute jet in attack. But yeah, I just don't see him there day one. I think if there's an injury, he's a name that if I see pop up for the 238k that he is, I've seen enough that I think that he will do a really good serviceable role for that period. And look, maybe he grabs it by the balls and he does earn the spot, but I don't think it'll be round one.
And essentially it's him competing with Brian Kelly, isn't it, for that other centre position, considering AJ Brimson's all but locked in to play centre. So, Josh, you've had him in your team in one of the drafts. That's maybe changed now.
Yeah, just a name that was cheap that I didn't really do a whole lot of looking into, but you're right. AJ Brimson's locked in. Yeah, AJ Brimson's locked in for one centre spot. Jojo Fafita, AKP, Brian Kelly, who just quietly averaged like 65 last year. I don't think we talk about that he averaged out of nowhere, averaged 65 back to Brian Kelly's best. But he'll definitely be there. I think Aaron Shop is still floating around. He's probably not going to start, but he's a name there. But yeah, obviously Harley Smith-Shield's base isn't fantastic, but we saw that Titan side last year throw defense out the window and just said, look, we're going to try and score more points than you. Under Des, that might be a little bit of a different philosophy, but yeah, he's a name. He's cheap. You can do worse.
Placeholder for now on January 9. So you can lock him in and reserve that 238k price tag and wait until Team List Tuesday. Big fallers, guys. 5 points of regression. I agree with both of these, but Josh, you've done the legwork here, so I'll let you kind of talk through it and we can add our bits and pieces. For Feeder and Brimson, a bit of no-brainers, really, isn't it?
Like I've spent my talking quota this episode already. We're only halfway through, but yes, Feeder, 81.5. He could, put 20 points. Fafita could fall into both the best value and the big fallers category. I've got no clue. It really comes down to what side of the field he plays on. I think he's definitely a big regressor over the first 6 weeks of the season. Like as Maddie said, if he scores 110 in week 1, sick. He scores 0 points in week 2. He also probably is going to have a very, very disrupted preseason. I think NRL Physio said around round 2, round 3, like we'll be racing the clock for round 1. But I just have a hunch that with that buy in round 2, what's the point in waste? Like you've got another fortnight there if he does Hasler just to get him right. And then obviously, yeah, both Fermor potentially playing on the left. I would suspect that Des just keeps Fafita on the left because of how well he was last year and just how well that link up was with AKP. But still, it's definitely worth mentioning the disrupted preseason, the fact that he's going to miss round 13, round 16, round 17, round 19 as well. So, yeah, I think 16, 17, 18, 19, he plays one game, which, yes, we're talking, 5 months down the track, but it's definitely worth considering if you're paying 800K. But, yeah, for Feeder, the way I look at him this year, it's going to be a very disrupted first 6 weeks. And then when he finally hits his straps, Origin, And then at the back end of the season, you're like, okay, well, that's when we have to jump on him.
And I can guarantee you that there will be late carnage, Teamless Tuesday, when he's named in round 1. And we look at the draw, and they've got the Dragons round 1. Then the bye, you can cop that. Then, let me finish, the Bulldogs, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Raiders. 5 really nice matchups in the first 6 rounds.
It's exceptional, but it's just like, I want to see him week 2 in the trials, like running for 200 meters and just like pile driving people into the ground before I pay $830K with a pec surgery. We know my thoughts on
both Firma has the same draw.
Yeah. Of course, and Bo Firma is also half the price. But in saying that, Bo Firma, people are like, oh, but he's coming off an ACL. Yes, but he's also had, I think he was right to go from like round 23 at the time.
Yeah, they just didn't use him. There's no point.
What's the point? Let's just wait.
Do we know if Bo Firma went to school with Tanner Boyd? That might tip it over the.
You got to keep it high.
I think he dated his sister. So
you have to factor in how many points. How many points does the Kibra High connection add? Like 15 points a game. At least. Yeah. I don't worry, boys. I bought in that hype as well. I was like, oh, Fafita and Boyd playing together again. Like, yeah. We're dumb.
All right, yeah, and Brimson being in the centres. Matty, you're a big Brimson fan from last year. You bought him in, I think, when a lot of other people didn't. Didn't necessarily play out the way you wanted it to, but do you see him being a regressor?
Yeah, especially at centre. I needed a pod, and he was there, and I found myself in a spot where I'm like, look, I'm going to try and hit it home or just, fall out of the top 10,000, basically. Brimo just did as advertised for me in the positions he was playing, but now fullback only, playing in the centres. There's absolutely no reason you should look at AJ Brimson. You know what? Fullback only, playing in the centres also doesn't even make him a classic option.
Yeah, completely agree. You're looking for centres that you can play at fullback or fullbacks that you can play in the centres, but like it just doesn't make sense to go with him at all. Doesn't make sense as an option when he's playing in the centres in the NRL. And is only available at fullback. So we can move on. Yep. Best value, we've got a few here. We talked about Beaufort a little bit earlier, but Keenan Palacia is also an ex-Bronco, Matty. And did you have high hopes for him over in Brisbane before he moved?
Not really. He's just a plotter. And I think that it's, as Josh said, really good football signing. Got nothing to do with Supercoach. He's like... He got paid more than, say, a Corey Jensen or somebody like that, but I don't think you get anything extra. And he definitely wasn't going to fill the role of like a Flegler or somebody like that going. So for me, I think you can put a line through him or take him in your last pick in drafts.
So he's a big 10-point improver for you, Josh. So plead your case.
Jermaine Jolliffe, Joe Stimson, Isaac Louis. Who else is terrible in this side? I mean, no offense, Aaron Clark. Like, Palacia is better than all these guys. Like, he's 360K. Is he going to set the world on fire? No. Am I going to take Spencer Leniu and Fletcher Baker over him? Yes. But he's dual position, which those two aren't. If for whatever reason Des Hasler realizes how absolutely putrid the guys I mentioned before was, like, no offense to Joe Stimson, but, like, how is he still getting a run around? Like, I remember 5 years ago, Joe Simpson was like 300K playing for the Storm. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's get on him. And he was terrible then. And we're now in 2024, and he's still terrible. Jermaine Jolliffe, another one, sick, cool. Play for the Cutters in New South Wales, in Queensland Cup or whatever. Like, you've got Mo Fodawaker, Tino, and then a whole heap of nothing. I like Keenan Palacia. I feel stitched up here. This is another Isaiah Katoa all over again, isn't it? After last week's shenanigans.
100%.
I don't think it's as bad as Isaiah Katoa. I'm more on board with Palacia than I am Katoa.
It's more that duel. And, yes, he will have to have some injuries fall his way to get meaningful minutes. But as I said, that pack does not scream Penrith Panthers, levels of depth there. So, yeah. But let's move on from Palacia because I'm probably more keen on the next man that we're going to talk about, which is Sam Verrills, which I feel like I've been saying that since 2017, 2018. That's Sam Verrills' year, and I'll probably never let it go. But we know how putrid Hooker is. Chris Randall is... Yep.
A football player.
And yeah, that's about it. Sam Verrills, he is just another Tom Starling, someone that has like a lot of excitement, can run the ball well, is an okay defender, needs the minutes. Des Hasler, Someone can clip this up and fact check me if I'm wrong, but just from memory, Des Hasler likes to play his hookers just for a lot of minutes. So if Verrills does get the 9, plays 60 minutes, you can do far worse.
Mm-hmm. Would you, if he's playing 60 minutes, wouldn't you just rather Brayley at 100k cheaper, free it up, use it elsewhere?
No, because Brayley's just a body. Like at least Verrills can like have some attack.
Can do something.
I'll never forgive Jaden. I'm going to go on a tangent here. From like rounds 1 to 10 in 2021, Jaden Brayley averaged like 70 points in like the first 10 weeks. And then from the back end of the season, averaged about 36. Like, I'll never forgive the bloke for that. He just derailed my 2021 season. But I don't know. Like, Verrills is exciting. Like, would you not rather just be like, when you're sitting down cracking a beer Sunday afternoon, would you rather watch Jaden Brayley make 36 tackles with 0 misses and have 1 running meter? Or would you rather be like, you know what, let's just watch Semi Verrills do something dumb 5 meters out and potentially try and get some kind of try assist?
You know what I'd rather do? I would rather have Harry Grant as my starting hooker and never rely on my reserve hooker with a reserve tagged on them in Supercoach and not have to give a fuck. That's what I would like to do.
Is that the Reed Money PTSD tax?
Yes, absolutely it is. That hurt my soul last year.
You know what? I'm a little bit with Josh on this one. I've had the next 3 guys all in my team at certain points.
Look, I feel a little bit ganged up on with Keenan Palacia and Sam Verrills, but I think I will have a little bit more support when it comes to both of them all at 467k, priced at 45.7. Now, I might be in a different Twitter niche than a lot of people, but I feel like everyone's talking about Beau Fermor. But I put up my team reveal the other day, and he was in it, and everyone's like, oh, wow, I forgot about Beau Fermor. So maybe I'm just in a small circle of Beau Fermor Stan accounts. But yeah, I mean, he's priced at 45.7. We know how good he was in 2022 pre-ACL playing on the left. I expect him to go back to the right with Fafita staying on the left, but still, like, that's 80 minutes a game, 0.5 ppm to break even. Like, the floor is, you can't get any lower than a 45 for an 80-minute back rower.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe, personally. What do you think, Matty?
Unless you're Hudson Young, according to you.
No, Hudson Young, he's fine. Elliot Whitehead is someone that could definitely play 80 minutes and score 15 points.
Yep.
I think with the surplus of mid-range 400k 2RF options, I don't know whether there's any of them that are a slam dunk per se, but Fermor's definitely in the conversation, isn't he? Is one of those options. I think it definitely makes sense.
I want to look at both Fermor's ownership at like 1 o'clock before the Titans week 2 trial game, and then watch it after he makes a line break from like a tenor void, short ball. It would skyrocket. Because I think he's a classic guy of people like filtering by average. Like when they're looking at their account, they're like, oh shit, I've got 500k left. Let's just filter by average. And then Fermor's not going to rock up. So I think, yeah, he's definitely a guy that is there. Look, obviously, the problem with Fermor is the fact that there's 47 other guys that are priced at 450k that averaged 45 last year. So he will get lost in the wasteland. It's not like he's the only person. But yeah, I don't think.
I also think that might be a small advantage, personally, that he gets lost in that wasteland, because you can find a little bit of gold in there with these guys that are severely underpriced. And clearly he's underpriced because he was injured all last year. He's not underpriced because he had a bad season, and there's reason to think maybe he'll have another bad season. So, but we all know that ACLs or returning from ACLs is definitely a drop in performance the year after they come back. So one thing to keep in mind. But let's talk about the last one, because we've got a question from Discord that ties in perfectly with this one. Jaden Campbell, 456k, very popular, probably more popular in fantasy circles than Supercoach. But he is 5'8" fullback, nice little duel there, priced at a 44.7. Now, I'll probably open up this question straight away. Scoop from Discord does some great stuff for us in there. Big fantasy head as well. Debate for and against Jaden Campbell if he's named at fullback. Given the position, the other options, their early buy and their very soft start. First of all, Matty, are you for Jaden Campbell or against him to start?
No, I'm for him. In my first iteration of my team, I went Campbell straight in. I can go a cheap fullback. It worked with Dream Buller last year. And now I've sat back a little bit and started to go, well, I'm going to probably go double gun fullback. Maybe it would fit in more at 5'8". When they paid him the money that they paid him last year, and I don't know if it was all in the papers down there in New South Wales, but it was all over the Courier Mail up here in Queensland. Like, it's like, you've paid this much money for a utility. Like, maybe this Brimson thing like that was all in the works then. Look, Gold Coast are really high on Jaden Campbell. He's exciting. Every time he's got the spot there, he's been great, which is why he's not coming in at 300K. I feel like it's a safe option at 5'8" for 450K.
I think when you can play, I mean, look, they're both high upside positions as well, 5'8" and fullback. If he was centre wing eligible or something, that's when I'd start to consider looking at him in that position. But I mean, at 5'8", everyone's on KO Weeks as their bench 5'8", and then they've probably got Dylan Brown or someone of a premium nature. At fullback, you've got so many awesome premium options. Like, are you really going to pick Jaden Campbell over Tommy Turbo, Ryan Pappenhausen, Reece Walsh, Kalen Ponga? You're not. So it's about where do you fit the bloke into really prime positions. Do you go and forego KO Weeks, who's 200K cheaper, to fit in Jaden Campbell because you see the upside at 5'8"? That now becomes the question. Because I don't know whether you put him in at fullback. Josh, do you agree? Are you someone that you'd have to play him at 5'8" or nothing in Supercoach?
In the last 2 years, have a guess how many 100-point scores Jaden Campbell has. 0.
Oh.
0.
2.
That actually surprises me. I thought I was going for maybe 4.
Have a guess how many 100-point scores Tom Trbojevic has. Loads.
Oh,
that's what it comes down to for me. Fullback, I can't go against. I think using Jareem Buller is very, very unique. Jareem Buller was the exception of the rule. He was also bottom dollar. If Jaden Campbell was 180K or 200K, yes, we're not having this conversation. He's straight in because we sacrifice that, and then we go double gun. We go double gun halfbacks.
Cleary
we
Hines.
could probably go double gun. Yeah, we could go double gun hookers with how poor it is. Like, we have the money there. We can go Tino and Haas. We free up so much money there. But as you said, like, he doesn't have huge upside. Yes, he's good. But, you know, I want Tom Trbojevic pumping the Bulldogs 58-0 when he scores 200 points. I don't want Jaden Campbell looking cool for 20 minutes scoring 80. And then at 5'8", this might just be me being like having a stonking hard on for Dylan Brown, because Dylan Brown is not moving from my team, like, at all. And then the question becomes, well, do I sacrifice Fainu, Jaden Sullivan, Chevy Stewart, KO Weeks, like 4 of these cheap guys that we're going to get? We're going to get one of them. Do I sacrifice one of those moneymakers for a guy who, looks cool, but he's also got, like, I'm looking at his stats right here, he's also got a couple of, like, 25-point games in 80 minutes. And
the argument for Jaden Campbell... the argument for Jaden... Go.
You go. No, I was just going to say Des Hasler as coach. So it's just like, you know.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do the Titans just set up to win games 6-0? Like, that's...
Yeah, are they good enough to win games like you just mentioned, Manly 58-0 against the Bulldogs? Like, are they good enough to go and put 50 points on a team and Campbell can eat 130 points or whatever? I don't think they are. But yeah, Jaden Campbell as well, like, the argument might be, oh, well, he's underpriced because he played at 14 a lot last year. He's playing as a utility, and that's fine. But when you go back and look at the games that he started at fullback last season, he only averaged 50.8 in games that he started at fullback. So that argument's kind of null and void now. Because he averaged pretty similar to what he averaged at 14 at 1. So whilst I like him as a player, there's way too many other options.
I don't have the exact stats, but I also feel like he played 14 a lot, came on with 20 minutes to go, and had like a ridiculous PPM because he just bag a try, and that would like inflate his score. But yeah, I love recording podcasts via Zoom when we have the delay and we both look like dickheads by talking over each other. But that's the thing. Like, yes, he is, even if he was underpriced, not everyone that's underpriced you have to buy. You have to work out who is more viable. And would I rather pay bottom dollar for KO Weeks to average 35 and get me 15 points of value? Or would I rather pay Jaden Campbell 500K to get me 8 points of value? And that's where you weigh it up. And for me, I just think the upside at fullback is way too high. And the upside at picking a cheap 5'8" is way too high. Like, if you're running Jaden Campbell as your main 5'8", then the conversation opens up a little bit more, but then you're sacrificing a gun in a position we don't need to. But for me, I'm letting JC go through the keeper.
One thing I do like about his draw is, look, we get to watch him play St. George. Great. That's going to be a good test for him. we get him to have the bye, and then he's going to play the Bulldogs, and then maybe the Dolphins. If he becomes must buy against the Dolphins, then it's not that round 3 where everybody gets the price rise. We can wait a week on Jaden Campbell, and being at 450k, not 270k, he's not going to make 200k in a week. He's not going to make 130k in a week. He's probably going to plod along, get you 60, and if he becomes one of those players, but like when he gets to that later schedule, heading into Origin, he's going to really struggle. So he's a rookie fullback.
If
23-year-old rookie fullback.
If JC comes out and goes 65, do you have movement there? Because it's not a huge price increase, because remember that first score will drop out. That's the first one that drops out. But if he goes like 65-40, I'm just like, cool.
Yeah.
He's fine. I'm not picking him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's just a case of weighing up risk versus reward and value versus points. You have to find that fine line between, like, obviously it's all cool to have a $14 million team value. If you're sitting 100k, you're like, oh, cool, look at my money, yay.
Mm-hmm.
You also need the points, so it's just like it's a hard one. I'm not keen though.
And we mentioned in the Manly pod that Tommy Turbo could be 400k underpriced at 800k. So there's your value. So we can move on. Guys, before we talk about the Melbourne Storm, the show is also sponsored by Ryan from Astute Newstead. With interest rates booming across the country, I'm sure you've wondered whether your rates are too high or whether you can afford your dream home. You don't have to wonder anymore. You can contact Ryan, who offers confidential lending assistance with no obligations attached. Contact him on Instagram at Ryan Astute Newstead and mention us to get a free consult. Now, Melbourne Storm, pretty brutal bye to start. They've got some pretty tough games to kick off.
We talk about the Titans having that golden 6 weeks and it's all green. And then we look at Melbourne and it's just like, oh, yuck.
No good. Does this deter you at all, Matty, from Storm options, looking at Panthers, Warriors, Knights, bye, Broncos?
It does. I will own a lot of Storm players throughout the year, but those first couple weeks, I might look to get them at a bit of value for maybe when they play the Bulldogs. What is that, round 6?
Yep. Fair call. Buys 4, 13 and 19 are the buys, around 4, 13 and 19. So they missed 2 of the major buys. So for your Origin players, they don't get hit as hard. For Harry Grant, for Cam Munster, for these guys, they're going to miss 13 and 19 anyway. It just becomes a question then, do they back up? So that's another conversation altogether, but not such a bad draw for the Origin guys. New arrival, Sean Blore from the Tigers. This was actually recent as a week ago that this news came out. Justin Olam's obviously gone across to the West Tigers. That's officially been approved now, Josh, hasn't it?
Yes.
I think I saw something today that the contract's been signed.
Today that Olam's agreed and things are good to go. But definitely cool. Good for all parties.
Absolutely. The outs, Tom Eisenhuth goes to the Dragons, Jaden Nikorima to the Catalan Dragons. 2 very different types of Dragons teams there. Tariq Sims has also gone over to the Super League to the Catalan Dragons, and Justin Olam, we just mentioned, to the Tigers. So those are the ins and outs. Ryan Pappenhausen becomes an injury conversation, I guess, but all reports are that he's tracking relatively well, and it's the same old bullshit injury narrative that we hear on the 10th of January, isn't it? That,
tracking well.
Yeah, pretty much.
My favorite term.
So
gives us no insight.
We talk about Ryan Pappenhausen a bit later, so I'll leave him. No suspensions to talk about, but let's move into the cheapies. There are a couple of cheapies. Stalwart cheapie, Jack Howarth, for how many seasons in a row? 5 or 6 seasons. He comes in at sub 240k.
We'll be doing this podcast in 5 years and be like, hey, what do we think of Jack Howarth? He's just re-signed a contract. He's played no NRL games, but they've just re-signed him to 800k a year. You reckon it's finally breakout
32-year-old Jack Howarth comes in.
Still rookie.
220k. Any love, Howarth? Is he in your team? Is he just a placeholder for now?
Honestly, I will get a cheap second row forward at some stage. I've actually never owned Jack Howarth, so I feel like I'm missing out on all the hype. I've just never really seen him line up for like anything.
Yeah, you'd have to be watching some reserve grade footy to see him play for sure.
His prospects looked a lot better until about a week ago. There was, a spot open, but it's weird because he is a center. They see him as a center. but for whatever reason, there's this 2RF narrative going around. I think one of the assistant coaches mentioned like he was in the center group last year, and maybe something's changed over the preseason. But he is a center, and there is some spots that are open in the back line. But like he's a cult hero. I'm trying to think of some other like really good cash cow cult heroes that never materialized. Not Chris Anderson. There was a guy from the Bulldogs that everyone had. Like he was always a great enough. But yeah, like he's
no surprise that you were on them at the Bulldogs.
Mate, if you've got BUL next to your name, there's a high probability that I've owned you at some point. Joe Chan at 238k. Now he is. We talk about Jack Howarth being like a wonder kid, but like Joe Chan, Storm fans eat him up. Apparently he is the goods. Will take a little bit to move out. Edges, one of them will be Ellis Katoa. The other one will be probably not Trent Liero, who didn't grab his opportunity with 2 hands last year. We expect it to be Sean Bloor, who we'll chat about after. But the cheapie that's probably most likely to get a run, Sua Fa'alogo, 339k, centre wing fullback eligible. Now we saw him light it up at times last year. Now we've also had some movement in the back line. So there's a spot opened up, and he's currently in my team, boys. Currently in my squad, which should give you guys no confidence whatsoever. But looked really exciting to me last year.
Funnily enough, he was in my first draft, and I haven't actually taken him out. Maybe more so I was just going on last year and how good he was in that game that he played in round 27. But now, with Justin Olam leaving, you would naturally think that he is probably the first choice or one of a very small number of players that are running for that position. Maybe Jack Howarth's another one. Can't complain either way. You pick one of them, whoever gets named there in round 1. Is Fa'alogo in your team, Matty?
Watch him just select Remus Smith. Just to ruin all that.
100%.
Remus Smith's a lock.
Exactly. That's
but like, yeah. Wait. Speak of Supercoach cheapies from every year. I feel like Remus Smith always starts the year at like 300k. What is he?
Yeah, but he's cheap because he's not very good.
He is 396k. He does not move from that. He will not have a price rise. He will not have a price fall. He should go to the Canberra Raiders because he would just fit in with being what you are.
Mid.
If you listen to the Insight NRL show last year, you would have heard a lot of slander about Remus Smith. I don't think I said a good word about that bloke for 27 rounds last year. I'm like, how does this guy keep getting picked every single week? He does fucking nothing. So you can guarantee another 27 rounds of fucking nothing from Remus Smith. Let's hope he doesn't cock block us.
I'd still have a beer with you, Remus. But I have to wait. I have to wait until I see something in writing for Fa'alogo before I select him. And right now, I just see them select the most boring players every year, and I probably don't see him getting a run unless there's an injury. Really.
I mean, look, the backline's got to be Coates, Warbrick on the wings, Meaney, and probably fucking Remus Smith in the centres.
It'll be Remus Smith, Marion Seve, Jack Howarth, or sort of Fa'alogo.
And young Tonamapea will come back at some point, and he'll have a run.
Does he not look like the Bunnings guy on those TikToks? Does he not look like that Bunnings guy on the TikToks?
Not at all. I'm not sure where you've got that from.
Since peak COVID.
I'll send it to you later, Josh. It's good viewing.
It's not much. It's not much excitement. Apart from Fa'alogo, there's not much excitement in that back line. And I don't know. They ran with Seve last year. They ran with Remus Smith last year. The Storm sucked. So why don't we just try something else, please? For our Supercoach's sake.
We've mentioned big fallers, both of them potentially centres. Nick Meaney, you're predicting to have a bit of a drop off. Josh, I mean, look, this is a no-brainer. 700k, centre wing fullback dual, but 68 average in the centres. Even if he was on the wing, okay, I can potentially get around it because I actually preferred him on the wing as a goal kicker than I did when he was at fullback. But in the centres, no, thank you, not a chance.
No. If I open up the app Australia Day and he is more than 0.1% ownership, I'm gonna rip my hair out because it's just like, well, what's going on?
No, it'd be good for us because that means that we're ahead of 0.1% of people on Supercoach. Marion Seve,
Marion Seve. It's just like price at 57. I think he had a couple of games where he scored well. Like it's just a Dean Mariner syndrome for me. It's just cool.
Bit of
whatever.
Bit of Broncos slander thrown in there for good measure, Matty.
Oh, that's all right. Well, I'm all aboard the Jesse Arthur's hype train.
100%. 100%. Oh, we probably should talk about the week that's happened in news. We should recap that at the start of the episode, I reckon. If you've gotten this far and you're putting up with this, Kevin Walters has confirmed that Cobbo will play left centre, Arthurs will play left wing, and that means Hall and Oates and what's his face? The other one, Dean Mariner. They'll fight it out for the right wing. So riveting stuff in the NRL world.
Yeah, I mean, not really Supercoach. Well, for now, not Supercoach relevant anyway. But I mean, are you picking Cobbo at centre? That's a conversation for another day. There's way too much going on there at the moment. 10 points of value though for the obvious one. So we'll leave him last. Sean Bloor, you've got here 445k, 2RF, 43 average. I'm a big Sean Bloor fan. If he can stay healthy, from what we saw in little snippets for the Tigers last year, I reckon he'll be really good.
You and I are Tigers fans. And maybe I'm just salty because he's no longer a Tigers fan. But apart from him shaping up to Nathan Brown that one time, like
that is worth 50 average in Supercoach for me.
Apart from the immense preseason fantasy and Supercoach hype, like, sure, cool. Like, I want him to stay fit because, like, yeah, cool. There's huge raps on him, but like, I don't know. I feel like this is Tarek Sims all over again. Remember when Tarek Sims signed last year and he was priced at 40 and everyone's like, oh my God, Craig Bellamy's going to make him a superstar. And now he's at the Catalan Dragons.
Probably making more money. Good luck to him.
100%.
Can I say, like, if Sean Bloor is priced at a 43 and Trent Loiero, what did he get? What did he score, like 50 last year? Surely Sean Bloor has 10 points.
I would take Sean Bloor over Trent Loiero. To be fair. Yeah. Look, if Sean Bloor averages 55, then yeah, cool. But the problem is, like, him averaging 55 in a class stacked with Kikau, Fermor, Sua Wong, Curran, Sean Lane. It's just like, yeah, there might be. This is, I guess, a Jaden Campbell. Yeah, Piacora. A Jaden Campbell point. Yes, he has some value, but is he better than the options presented? Let's touch on Pappy because I can go either way. Shout out to Savs from the Supercoach experience. He made a good point. Like, he's not priced at what he averaged last year. Like, if everything was true, he's priced at like 40 and he's 100% owned. But he's priced at a 64 off the back of a shattered kneecap where I captained him. I remember that. And then just getting absolutely obliterated last year when he came back as well. Obviously, we know Pappy, like, he averaged, 109 during COVID years, and then he's great, can average 85. But it's like 2 major injuries for a fullback that's speed reliant, and the draw is putrid. It's like it's not the value that we thought we were going to have. It's not like there's 30 points of value sitting there for us.
And also, does he goal kick? You know, because that's relevant as to whether you're going to pick him or not. You've got Nick Meaney, who's very healthy and kicks okay. And then you've got a guy coming off a shattered kneecap and a busted Achilles or whatever it is, or ankle or whatever it is that he's got going on at the moment. So, like,
do you want to know?
Yeah.
Like, if we look at this, Penrith, New Zealand Knights won't have a price drop until round 5. Then plays the Broncos. Has one good game against the Bulldogs where he could score 3,000. Then plays the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. We might be looking at, Pappy. What is it? Round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Round 8.
Sub 500k Pappy.
Yeah, that's when I'd look at him when they played the Titans up in Queensland, and then from there it gets better. It's got the Sharks, the Eels, Manly. Like, that's when I'm looking at Pappy. I'm probably not looking at him round 1. Not, the fact that you're most likely going to have Harry Grant and you're going to have to play Danny Levi, Jaden Brayley, Brendan Hands, insert mediocre hooker. Like, you're going to have to play one of them in round 4. Do you then want to have to play what would it then be? Your 19th man? Because you're going to have Pappy and Grant out. Then you have to have a reserve for Grant. And then you're playing your 19th man. And, like, our squads aren't strong enough in round 4 to be having 19 quality players. You're sitting there looking at, like, a Fletcher Baker who's underwhelmed you and playing 30 minutes a game. You're like, well, looks like we're forced to play you. Or we're looking at a Chevy Stewart who's put up 13, 26, and a 9. And we're like, oh, wow, well, this is what it is.
Yeah, you're copping a 7 that week. Pappenhausen, Matty, thoughts? Fade?
Yeah, like, of course the knee-jerk reaction is let's add Pappy. He's back. He's healthy, apparently. But I look at his journey last year. Yeah, tracking well. trapping well. He could absolutely be a trap, and I expect him to be highly owned week 1. Not everybody is as into Supercoach as us. But yeah, looking at the draw, he very quickly found his way out of my team.
Ooh, good point, Mattrix. We're going to play overs unders at the end of this episode with averages for the season, but I want to fire a quick one out at you boys. Ryan Pappenhausen, Australia Day when the app opens, over under 30% ownership.
Over.
I'm smashing the overs. I'm remortgaging my house and putting on the overs.
It has to be, I think, purely because you're comparing him to all of the other premium options last year, and the only thing that we can think of about Pappy is how good he was 2 years ago. And it's like that Tommy Turbo syndrome from last year, where, Tommy Turbo was 650K or 550K or something crazy last year. And everyone started with him, as you should, with Tommy Turbo being underpriced by half of his value. But it's the same thing again. I guarantee you, Tommy Turbo was, I think, 35% owned or something at the start of last season, and you'll see the same thing with Pappy. Yeah, I agree.
I'm just like, if Pappy was like priced at like 490, 500, then we're not having this conversation. I'm happy to cop the shit 3 weeks and the buy because it's Jaden Campbell territory. Like, would you rather have Jaden Campbell or Ryan Pappenhausen? Obviously, but it's the fact that we're playing from memory. The Penrith Panthers were the best defensive side from Supercoach point of view. The Broncos were second best. The Knights were 5th best, and the Warriors were 4th best. And it's just like you're playing 4 of the top 5 teams in terms of defense last year, and you were the 4th best. So you're playing literally the only 4 options that could be there or thereabouts. I'm just looking at round 7. Like I said, I'm looking at round 8 when Turbo eventually goes down, and we just move to Pappy.
Makes sense. Makes sense to us. Let's move. We've got one more team to cover, boys, but before we do, we'll give a throw out to Bonus Bank. They're Australia's #1 matched betting site. You can go to bonusbank.com.au, use the code INSIGHT to get 25% off your first month of their premium subscription, and you can start making tax-free and risk-free money today. Let's talk about the Cronulla Sharks. They've got a bit of a tough first round against the Warriors. They're away in New Zealand round 1, so they've got the road trip across the ditch for round 1, but then they've got 3 really nice matchups coming into their bye in round 5, then 16 and 20 are the other byes. Matty, new arrivals, ins and outs. Let's go through them for the Sharks.
Yeah, look, the new arrivals are Billy Burns from the Dragons, who's impressed in his minutes that he's got. Michael Gabriel from the Bulldogs. The outs, of course, Wade Graham retired. Tukahau Tapua was released. Ikavalu is going to Catalan.
I thought you were going to butcher that.
I would have butchered that.
Especially Matty's probably
means a lot.
Done well.
Oh, thanks. Means a lot. Shout out to the Standard Squeeze.
I was more trying to give you a chance to plug the Standard Squeeze again, mate.
Yeah. Matty Moylan's going to Lee Leopards after his turbulent year last year, and Connor Tracy to the Bulldogs. And the Sharks, they're healthy at the moment.
It's handy for them. Handy for Nico Hines. Good, nice positive to have his full squad around him to start the season. There was the question mark last year around Nico Hines' health, and then he missed 3 rounds to start the season. So it's nice to see we don't have to worry about whether he's going to be in our teams. I'm sure we're probably... Actually, no, we're not talking about him. That's interesting. Actually, that's probably good because it's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, well, we'll throw him in there. So no injuries, no suspensions, which is great. But the cheapie prospect, we can't not let Josh talk about this one, can we?
Very hot. I got the aircon on.
I'll be back in 10.
I got the aircon on 10 degrees because I'm very, very hot. Hot for Kale Iro. I think we discussed him pretty much at length in our team reveal, where all 3 of us are of the opinion that Talakai is best suited to be back in the middle. You know, you've lost Wade Graham, who has some impact on the edge as well there. Like Billy Burns is Billy Burns. He's not Sifa Talakai 10 minutes either side of halftime. I just think Iro is a stud. He just is. I'm huge on him. In my Twitter bio, I believe I've changed it. It now says leader of the Kyle Iro Cult Club. So we're taking new recruits by the day. But he's a guy I'm really keen on. On that, hopefully on that left hand side, Nico feeding you, and I don't know really what else I can say.
There isn't really anything else to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. 219K may as well be basement price too.
Go check out my Twitter at SC Whisperer and my pinned tweet. Very good KL Iro meme that just sums up how I'm feeling right now. So yeah,
I'm all
the
for it.
less the better. But let's talk about the big fallers, because we have the one and only SC Mattrix's own in his team reveal, Sifa Talakai, priced at 560K. I think this just goes hand in hand with the last point, doesn't it? Like if he's starting, he's probably at value. If he's on the bench coming off through the middle, he's underpriced. Wait for Matty to. He's got his headphones in. Matty, we were just talking about your centre wing prospect back in mid-December of Sifa Talakai. He's gone from being owned to overpriced.
Yeah, and you talked me out of it a bit. To be completely honest, you said let's do podcasts in mid-December, and I was like, oh shit, I better check.
I had nothing else to talk about. You boys were stacked up with sports. And I was like, I need to get the itch.
I was still talking about Gary Brown, but he doesn't have an average 58. But look, yeah, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have a 560K guy. Oh, let's quickly do something. Dom Young and Talakai, and the more you think about it, the more you think there's not that pathway for Talakai to have this elite run. Like, I don't think he'll be picked for Origin again this year. I don't think he's going to have, he's not going to have that ripper year that he had.
He's not going to have Morgan Harper defending him.
Yeah, well, look, probably never again, can I say? Only in Morgan Harper's nightmares.
I know that you boys obviously reminisce about Hudson Young, but like, I sometimes find myself thinking back to Sifa Talakai scoring 148 points in one half and then finishing on like 151.
Yep.
My
I was
brother
not an
captained
owner
him
of
that
that
day. My brother captained him
Can
that day.
you imagine owning Talakai and like you're at the pub and you're like, oh fuck, Talakai's on 150. We're on here. And then you check back in 40 minutes later, he's still on 150.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he can do. I mean, look, such an explosive player. He's such a fucking good player, but it's just there's defensive deficiencies that are very clear, aren't they? That they just targeted his edge all night. So I think they're going to want to fix that. Obviously, Moylan defensively next to him was also a problem. So you had a gaping hole in the middle of the field for Cronulla pretty much all year. But yeah, off the bench, it's just definitely a no. But Britton Nicker is an interesting one. We're actually, Josh and I hopped in the studio a little bit before Matty, and we had a chance to chat about this one before Matty hopped on. So I wouldn't mind you talking us through your thoughts on the regression on Nicker this year, Matty.
I don't think I can see a massive regression. Like you've got to, the boys had 5 points of regression there in it, but I think for 710, I can't Can I be honest? The Sharks were a boring team to look at. Like, not much has changed. And then you just go Nicker up 710K. Yuck. If you see him at 640K in 6 weeks, are you surprised? Probably not. Do you own him at, if he goes to 660K after he just starts to look like he's got an amazing connection with Nico again, then yes, you do get on it. I just can't see Nicker going 70 again.
I think he's the typical at value. He's not undervalued. He's not overvalued.
Yep.
He is at value. I think I said this to you, Braino, before. I wouldn't be surprised after 10 rounds if Nico is averaging 50, but then finishes the season averaging 70. Like he goes and his runs are sustained. But he's also very good at very, very attacking. So those big games will come. But yeah, I'm just put off by the 7 in front of his price. Like if he was 680, I'm like, yeah, cool. But it's just that 700K.
The 1995 is so much cheaper than $20. That's that effect for Britton Nicker, I think, with the 7 in front of him.
100%.
And when we look when we look at his PPM, it was up at least 0.1 of last year, and also his game scored above 60%, but went massive. So I feel like maybe I'm on board with the narrative that Matty's gone with, purely because I think like when we look at his stats, it was a massive outlier season. Like, can he improve that much, that aggressively, and then maintain it? Maybe there is a little bit of a fallback.
I also said that he's a guy that could average 50 after 10 weeks and then average 70 at the conclusion of the year. This season could be the opposite. Obviously, we saw how good the draw is to start. He could be a Jermaine Asako from your team, Braino. Like, he could be a guy that you buy, and he's averaging 85 through the first 10 weeks, and then you're like, cool, now's the chance to sell, to cash out. So that could be the same with someone like Ronaldo Molitalo, who's priced at, I think, a 61, and he's like 630K as well. So he's a guy that if you want to target, then go for it. It's a case of like, well, how does Hines and Trindle work together? I think let's talk about that, because Braden Trindle priced at 440k, 43 average. Now, Mattrix, you did these notes for the Sharkies. You've got him a bit of 10 points of improvement. I'd love to hear why.
I do. He impressed me last year, and I hated him, honestly. Like, I ragged him out something chronic, but he impressed me with what he did. He impressed me a bit more with Nico out, but they've put their faith in him. I do just think in a full season, we can see 10 points of improvement. Again, a bit more of a draft player. Are you going to spend 400k for a bloke like this? Look, probably not. Did I struggle to find anybody with upside that wasn't just going to give you as advertised prices on the Sharks? Yeah, that was probably a little bit more of the case, because really nothing's changed for these guys, really, apart from your retirement of Wade Graham. And it felt like they were trying to fit him in at times when he didn't really fit in there. The same with Matt Moylan. They just drew a line through him at a certain point. He was basically a member of the coaching staff. These guys are stacked, but I think we're seeing everybody in the same roles they were at, except for Braden Trindle, which has the opportunity to have 10 points extra.
And so, Josh, you were talking about, does it potentially affect Nico by having Trindle on the field?
Yes and no. I mean, so Trindle played 80 minutes 4 times last year. He scored a 21 in 80 minutes, which is, you love to see that. He also scored a 18 in 80 minutes. You love to see that. But he also scored a 75, and he also scored 65 as well. And that 65 was against Melbourne. So he's done it against the tough teams. As you can see, I think it's very much up and down for Trindle. When it comes to Hynes, it's a tough one. As you boys know, I'm a somewhat avid NRL fantasy player where kick meters are a big factor over there. And there is chat about Hynes losing kick meters. We don't have to worry about that in Supercoach. I think Hynes is still going to eat. It's Nico Hynes. I think Braden Trindle falls into the Kieran Foran and Manly category of there's just too many good players around him to get the touches and to be him. If Hynes' draw wasn't as good as what it was, we could be having this discussion of being like, oh, do we fade Hynes? But it's just too good for me to pass up. Yeah, probably is maybe 5 points overpriced, but that's still a 90 average. So it's just like, cool.
I think
like Hynes is the guy.
have...
Hynes is the guy that you're not trading out unless he just sucks or gets injured.
Yeah, completely agree. You're starting with either him or Cleary. You just need to make your decision on who you're starting with. And you made a good point, Josh, on the last pod, or maybe the pod before, around the Vegas trip and everything going on there, and him playing, I think, pretty close to the round 1 or round 2.
Yeah,
is that right?
I think 7 days beforehand, they're over in England playing the World Club Challenge.
Oh, for this. Yeah, that's a good point. So, does it affect him? Maybe not. But you can't really go wrong with either. You're just probably going to have to pick. I haven't seen too many teams or too many drafts with both. Is it possible? Have you toyed around with it?
Oh, if you open up at SC Whisperer, and you might see both of them in there
Maybe
with Dylan Brown and Harry Grant.
Ooh.
And Turbo and Ponga. And a lot of Kale Ero. Boys,
how many times can you pick Kale Ero in your team? 7?
Oh, mate. Yeah, if I could, sweet. Some raging success last week was our overs and unders. We did it very much on the fly. This week we've been a little bit more structured. We've gone 2 players from each team that we've talked about today. And I've been the one that sets the lines for these ones this week, boys. So how about I be the quizmaster and I'll post it to you, boys.
Go for it.
Last year, Joey Tarpany averaged 64.2. We've got Josh Papali'i, getting younger. Elliot Whitehead, not getting any younger. Morgan Smithy's not being good. Joey Tarpany, 66.5, 2 points improvement. Overs, unders?
Oh, unders.
Oh, we've got overs from Mattrix. For the audio listeners, we've got Mattrix with a thumbs up, so overs for him. Under. So it looks like I've split the crowd with a decent line.
So his season.
Yeah, you go.
No, I was just going to say his breakout season, the best season he's ever had, was in 2022. He averaged 66. So are we saying that he's going to have the best season he's ever had?
Could do, but
season?
If it's by 2 points, it doesn't really set the world on fire.
With any other coach, yes. With Ricky Stewart, could average 41. It's hard to talk about the Raiders and Supercoach projections without talking about Hudson Young. Last year, averaged 56.8. You boys have a hard on for him. So I've set the line this year at 59.5.
Overs.
Come on, overs.
Of course it is. Was it any other option? Was it any other way? Any other way?
Forever young.
The man that we spoke about with 10 points of value, Jaden Campbell, last year averaged 44.7. I think I may have overshot this line based off your stat of him starting last year, but I've got him at 55.5. Braino, I think you've already made your decision up based off your stat, but 55.5 Jaden Campbell.
Yeah, unders. 50 average at fullback.
It's a full year at fullback. He'll find his feet.
Look, he's got the talent. He's got the talent,
does.
but I'm still saying unders.
You said he'll find his feet. Will he find his way into Mattrix's team at one stage?
I think he might if he impresses me in the first couple of weeks that he plays. I won't own him round 1. There you go. Especially with that bye round 2, I don't need to.
Let's say KO Weeks goes full Isaiah Katoa and plods along with a 22 average in the first couple of rounds and Campbell's killing it. Are you spending up a couple of $100K to get the cash from Campbell at 5'8"?
Yep.
Where are you taking it from, though? It's $200K. It's a lot of cash. It's not just like $80K you got sitting in the bank.
Yeah, it's another conversation we'll have about how much cash to have in the bank after a round with your starting team. But yeah, no,
the way that
Ponga to Pappy.
Oh, that's hot. The way that stats work and probability works, not every one of these mid-range choices is going to boom. So maybe you do drop down, and maybe people are surprised about who lines up on the edge for the Dragons, and we'll touch on that in the Dragons podcast. But there may be a 270K option that may be lining up. The next player in there's our overs and unders. It's both Furmore. Now, last year averaged nothing, obviously, but in 2022 averaged 65, and the 2 years before that averaged 48 and 46. So I had a breakout year in 2022, coming off the back of his major injury. 57.5 overs unders both Furmore. Thumbs down from Mattrix, and Braino's in the tank.
Yeah, I'm going to say... I'm going to say overs. I'm going to say overs. I reckon 57... That's actually a really good line from you. Do you work for a sports bet or something? I think he's going to go close to 60. I reckon you've probably got it within a point. I'd say he was not averaging more than 60, but I reckon he'll average high 50s.
All right, well, this one is the biggest discrepancy between last year's average and this year's average. And it's Ryan Pappenhausen, averaged 44.5 last year, but obviously it's got a massive asterisk next to it. Off the back of multiple injuries, but with the ceiling he has, 72.5 for the season for Ryan Pappenhausen.
You know what? Over the whole season, yes, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him average 35 through the first 4 or 5 weeks.
We'd love that. Based off our trade plans in round 8, we'd love that.
Yeah, for sure. Look, you have to take the overs, don't you? He's just such an exciting player when he's fit. And let's just hope that he's fit for the season. You know, if we see another injury, I swear we're going to be talking, we're going to be having different conversations about Pappy, unfortunately. But I'm going to assume he's fit. So I'll take the overs.
New Tigers recruit Sean Bloor averaged 43.7 last year, 56.0 in this Storm side. Remember, Trent Liera averaged mid-50s, and all three of us agree that Sean Bloor is a better football player. So 56.0 for Sean Bloor.
Unders.
Let's do it.
So far we've gone through 6 players. I've split you both on every one of them, apart from Hudson Young, which I could have set the line at 100, and I reckon you both would have taken overs.
Overs.
And Ryan Pappenhausen, which was a very, very tough line to set. We've got 4 more. We've got Nico Hines, averaged a 95.0 last year. Slight fall, 93.0. Nico Hines.
Yep.
Oh, you're going to split us again. I'm going to go unders.
Overs and unders. Are you more at that 90 points, losing 5 points or so to Trindle?
I think so. Look, just remember, how many players have averaged 100 plus in Supercoach? Yeah. Turbo and whoever else it was in 2021.
Teddy got close. Cleary's been there. Pappenhausen as well. But that's the thing. You're paying eye-watering amounts of money for Nico Hines. You're not paying him being like, oh, Nico Hines, what a cash cow. You're paying the premium for no trades to be spent.
Yeah, and also we need to say that the Sharks are going to be better. That's the caveat with this. And we keep seeing them play some really good stretches of football, but they're flat track bullies. So are they going to start to step up against better teams? That's the question. And if they start to play some better footy, sure, Nico could average 100. He's good enough. But I just don't see any change or enough change to see them improving that much.
Do you know Nico Hines is older than Nathan Cleary?
Yeah, Nico Hines is like nearly pushing 30. He's like 28 or something.
He's 20. He's 27,
bloomer.
but sure.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, but he's because he was playing a lot for the
Yeah.
Falcons, and like obviously he got his crack because Pappy went down, and Munster was out at the time as well during COVID. So, the man with about 3 teeth in his mouth, Cam McInnes, averaged 58.7 last year. Dale Finucane not getting any younger. Wade Graham moving on a little bit there or thereabouts. Mattrix is pre-pumped it, ready to go. 61.5.
I
wanna see what-
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Overs.
I'm going to take the overs too, and I think there's a narrative potentially that Dale Finucane drops to the bench and McInnes gets the starting 13, to start the season. But I feel like maybe I'm going to say over. Okay, let me ask you two: over under McInnes to start in the 13, round 10.
Overs.
Overs.
So you reckon it's going to take longer than round 10 or less?
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like will he be starting?
Yeah,
Will it be starting by round 10 or will it be
yes,
before or
100%.
after round 10?
Oh no, it'll be before round 10. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see it like round 5 or 6. If I had to put a price on McInnes starting at by round 10, $1.45, $1.40.
Ooh.
I'm
So what's the
I'm
line?
all in
7.5? Must be 7.5, I reckon.
Yeah, probably around 7. I reckon we see him start. But my favorite Cam McInnes memory, boys. Last year I owned him because I needed some hooker cover, and as we know, I had Jake Granville there kicking there or thereabouts, who did a serviceable job. But I owned Cam McInnes for his very, very boring 95-point game. I don't think I've seen a more boring 100-point game before when he just made 4,000 tackles.
100 points, 100 tackles. Thanks for coming. What, did you set a record in tackles or go close to it?
He has
Yeah,
80
thereabouts.
tackles, right?
Yeah.
Remember in round 2, Reece Walsh was on 10 points at the 70th minute and then finished on like 110. That was a beautiful 10 minutes of footy if you owned Reece Walsh. If you owned Cam McInnes for his record-breaking game, like I did, it was just, you'd press F5 on the SC Live website and it's just up 1 point, up 1 point, up 1 point. No deviation. It's just a very, very smooth graph. Very boring, but you'll take that.
Oh, sure. The guy, you're not expecting any attacking stats from him.
He's my
I'll take
draft
60 tackles
goat.
a week.
100%.
He's my draft goat. Like,
Hey,
you
Matty.
just have to take him. You know what
Sorry.
you get.
Matty, can you remind me who won Inside Draft League last year?
Don't bring this up. I'm so off you.
Just thought I'd throw it out there. Yeah, I couldn't remember. Must have been me. Anyway,
I'm so
next
off
one.
you.
Well, yeah, we've got 2 more here. I think this may be a Matrix. Have you put these 2 in? Because I definitely haven't put these 2 in.
Yeah. I did.
All right. Well,
I wanted to hear you talk about Blake Brayley a little more.
Oh, I'm so hot.
Can
for Blake
I'll
Brayley.
do this. I've got Blake Brayley in here, guys, at a 56.9. Now, I just want to see what you all think. Are we going unders or overs on 56.9 in the boring hooker position?
I'm very hot for Blake Brayley. Maybe I'm the only one, but like, if we filter by average last year, he was 4th. We all know my stance on JMK. I wouldn't be surprised to see Blake Brayley push 60.
He will be the 3rd best hooker this season,
Behind JMK.
behind JMK and Grant. Blake Brayley 3rd.
Oh,
59 average.
Cook falling out that much?
Yep.
Wow, that's hot.
Yeah,
that's a spicy one. Jeez.
We've
Cook
gotta
averaged
go- I mean,
65.0 last year. 65.0. JMK averaged 62.9 and Brayley averaged 56.8. So you're saying that there's a 9-point gap from last year from Cook to Brayley, and what you reckon Cook falls 4.5 and Brayley rises 4.5?
Yep. Oh, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Blake Brayley's going to be 5-10 points better than Cook. I'm saying that I think that he nudges out Cook as the 3rd best hooker.
I don't hate it because I'm very hot for Blake Brayley. Like I'm generally being like, man, Grant's draw sucks. He's got the bye early with Origin. I am looking at Blake Brayley, but I'm also don't want to have Kyle Ero, Nico Hines, and Blake Brayley because like Grant's got the round 4 bye, but then Brayley also got the round 5 bye. It's just Brayley has a better draw.
Yeah, the only negative to Blake Brayley is the fact that his job is to get the ball to Nico Hines. So he's a little bit capped, isn't he? Off the ground.
Run, though.
So
can run,
yeah.
which is obviously
Yeah,
nice. We do like 80-minute running hooker, which is like much better than like Reece Robson, who was very much just a tackle man, a body.
Yep.
So yes, we're
Next
both
one,
overs,
Matty.
and then the last one, Matty.
Mulatalo, 58.5.
All right, so I had a very good stat on this last year. With Wade Graham out of the team, this was at the preseason last year. With Wade Graham out of the team, Mulatalo averaged 72.
Mm-hmm. Not surprised. And Talakai's average was massive as well with Teague Wilton in the team and Wade Graham out from memory.
I'm going to take the overs.
I'd love to know the stat when Trindle was in the team, what Mulatalo averaged versus when Trindle wasn't, because that's on Trindle's side technically. I know Hines goes both ways, goes both sides, but
A bit of a swing.
I'd love to know if anyone knows.
I was going to say, I'm sure plenty of non-straight men would love Nico to go both ways as well, just quietly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd go there.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm going to take overs on Mulatalo 58.5 over the course of the season.
Yeah, I might just trickle on the unders because he hurt.
I will give the listeners a tip though. If you're planning on owning Ronaldo Mulatalo, don't own Sione Katoa, and vice versa, because one of them will score 100 and the other will score 50, and you can't pick which one.
Whichever one you get will get 15. Do you
remember just before we finish off last year? I remember Sione Katoa was like a hot property, and everyone bought him, and he went like 15, 15, 20, and everyone sold him because Ronaldo was killing it. And then Ronaldo went 15, 15, 20 and got like sin binned, and then Katoa scored like 180.
Imagine if you shifted between the two and just copped the 15s all the time and the other one went off. Yeah. No, I'd lose my mind. And also the downside for Katoa, and always the downside for Katoa, is Jesse Ramian inside him has thrown about 3 passes in his career. So
that many.
Yeah, that's it. I had Ramian last year at some point from memory for a couple of weeks. That was fun. But we've talked enough about Sharks.
He always makes his way. It's like round 19, round 20. SC interest has fallen out the window, and everyone's like, "Fuck, I need a pod."
Oh
shit, Jesse Ramian's averaging 62.
Yeah, and then he goes to proceed to average 33.5 in your team for the next 4 weeks.
Cody Staggs, another one. Cody Staggs is another one. Every year.
Yes, absolutely. But we could sit here and chat all night about how much we're being let down by Supercoach, but we won't. But that'll do. We've done 4 teams. We've covered all of those. We'll talk value. We've talked overs and unders at the end, which was fun. We'll continue to do that. And for everybody, obviously, if you made it to the end, first of all, thanks for watching. Secondly, if you haven't hit subscribe, please do like the episode so we can get it out to more people. Give us a follow on audio if you're an audio podcast person. And we've got some exciting things coming up soon. We're going to be talking a little bit more Supercoach draft this year as well. So we're working currently in the background on our rankings and doing a bit of a big board. So we've got some cool things coming from a draft perspective this year as well. So stay tuned for that. Jump in the Discord. The link's in the description as well. Got some pretty cool stuff happening in there too. But that'll do us, gents. Thanks as always. It's been fun talking Supercoach. We will see you next time in about a week for the next 4 teams. Until then, been listening to the Insight NRL show. Catch you later.
Cheerio.